If you're planning a trip to Milford Sound, one of the most common questions we see is what is the best season to see it? And honestly, there's no bad season here. Milford Sound is incredible all year round and no season feels the same. So today, I'm going to guide you through what to expect in each different season. Hi, I'm Toby, owner and guide here at Luxe Tours. We're a family and locally owned tour operator taking day trips to Milford Sound from Te Anau and Queenstown. Over time, we've seen enough of each season to know exactly what to expect. Ready? Let's get into it. Milford Sound is nestled in amongst Fiordland National Park in the southwest corner of New Zealand's South Island. This remote location within Fiordland National Park is one of the most biodiverse places in the world. There is a lot of wildlife that is unique simply to this area, but it's also a place that creates its own natural climate. And of course, Milford Sound is known as one of the wettest places in the world. Rain and snow is common, but of course, so is the sunshine. So it's really important to be prepared for all types of weather. So let's start with spring. Spring in New Zealand runs from September to November, and this is probably one of the most unpredictable but beautiful times to visit Milford Sound. Temperatures usually range from something like 4 degrees in the morning to a high of maybe 16 degrees Celsius, and the weather changes constantly. Cold, frosty mornings can turn into warm, sunny afternoons really quickly. This is one of the best seasons for waterfalls with a combination of snowmelt but also some high impact rainstorms, and this is going to lead to some pretty spectacular waterfalls alongside the beautiful Milford Road. One aspect to consider is the potential for road closures. This is dictated by the weather, but also a group called the Milford Road Alliance. They do an amazing job of assessing the risks and trying to keep the road open as much as possible. Out of the entire year, it's mainly September and October that we see the most disruption to the road to Milford Sound. So if you're visiting during that time, maybe try and add a wee bit of flexibility to your schedule in case there's some disruption. Otherwise, the wildlife is incredible at this time of year, as it's the time when new generations of wildlife will be born. The famous lupins that you may have seen start blooming around late spring, around November, December time, and there becomes a real colourful vibrance in the air. Spring is also the season where the great hiking season starts in October. So hiking tracks like the Milford track, the Kepler, the Rootburn track start fully opening. Our biggest tip for spring would be to pack for literally any type of weather. Sunscreen, warm clothes and waterproofs are absolutely essential. You never know what to expect during the spring season. Next is summer, which runs from December to February. And unsurprisingly, this is the busiest time of the year. Temperatures are warmer, usually averaging around 17 to 19 degrees Celsius, but can get up into the high 20s. And you also get the highest daylight hours of around 15 to 16 hours every day, which means plenty of time for sightseeing and later cruise departures in Milford Sound. Summer is the best season for camping, and there are lots of camping options alongside the Milford Road and also in Te Anau to choose from. All of the famous hiking tracks like the Milford, Kepler and Rootburn tracks will be fully operational. Wildlife is everywhere during summer in Fiordland, and this does unfortunately mean the sandflies too. Warmer temperatures means that they're out in full force during this time. Summer also comes with the biggest crowds and the most traffic on the road. It is by far the busiest season to visit. Our biggest tips during this season: bring strong insect repellent and book absolutely everything well in advance. Cruises, tours, accommodation and even restaurants. Also, please take extra caution when driving, as summer is peak visitor season. The road to Milford Sound is extra busy, so you need to be cautious when driving the narrow, windy road. Autumn in Milford Sound, March to May, is honestly one of the most underrated season and actually my favourite time to visit Milford. The autumn months bring in much more settled weather, so expect generally lots of sunshine during this time, not too much rain. However, good or bad, it can also snow in the months of April up high in the mountains, so make sure to bring lots of layers. The biggest difference in autumn is the crowds drop off significantly, so everything feels quieter and more peaceful. Around Te Anau and particularly Queenstown, you'll see beautiful autumn colours, while Milford Sound will stay green and lush all year round because the native forest is evergreen. The Great Walk season continues until the end of April, and lots of hikers actually prefer April because the tracks are a lot less crowded. If you want a calmer, quieter Milford Sound experience without the crowds, autumn is a great option. And finally, winter, which runs from June to August. This is when Milford Sound becomes its most peaceful and potentially its most beautiful. Temperatures usually range in Milford Sound from about 0 to 8 degrees Celsius, but in the Milford Road and the upper parts of the road can be anywhere down to -8 degrees Celsius, so it does get very chilly during this time. So be sure to bring a good jacket and lots of warm clothing. Daylight hours during winter are also pretty limited. The sun rises about 7:30, 8 AM in the morning and sets around 5:30 at night. Rainfall typically drops in winter, and these months are when the weather is typically most settled. This brings lots of bluebird days around the snow-capped mountains, which honestly is pretty beautiful. You'll still see wildlife too. Fur seals, dolphins, and native birds are here all year round. And of course, our local cheeky alpine parrot, the kea, loves the cold as well. So expect to see lots of them hanging around the place, particularly Monkey Creek and Clethai Valley. Winter, of course, also has the fewest crowds, and so the cruises within Milford Sound typically feel pretty quiet and relaxing. And great news too, there's a lot less sandflies at this time. However, winter of course does require more planning. Conditions in the area can be more treacherous, including snow, black ice, or avalanche risk along the Milford Road. Typically, I wouldn't recommend self-driving to Milford Sound during this time, unless you're particularly experienced in winter driving. Potentially you'll have to navigate a wintry road, which is already reasonably challenging, and combined with limited daylight hours can be tricky to navigate. We always recommend taking a tour in winter from Te Anau or Queenstown, as experienced drivers do the driving and the planning for you. The great walks and hiking tracks are in off-season during this time, so facilities are typically limited or even closed, and the tracks may be completely shut off with snow coverage. Unless you're really skilled in winter hiking, day hikes are typically a much better option. Our two biggest winter tips are to wrap up warm and bring your camera, as it's seriously stunning during this time. We would still also recommend booking your accommodation, tours and restaurants in advance in some of the busier areas, because often capacity is limited at this time of year. So once you've got your dates, lock in the booking. So, when is the best time to visit Milford Sound? Honestly, it really depends on the experience that you want. Spring is best for waterfalls and new wildlife. Summer is best for hiking or longer days. Autumn is best for fewer crowds and peaceful scenery. Winter is best for dramatic landscapes and a much quieter experience. But no matter when you visit, Milford Sound is one of those rare places in the world that feels unforgettable every time you visit. In my opinion, there is simply no bad time of the year to visit. We hope this has helped you plan your visit to Milford Sound. Thanks for listening.